Despite your desire to see yourself and also to be a good human, we all have implicit biases. You, me, judges, politicians, your teacher, your mum, your dad, everybody. And both implicit and explicit biases are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they can reinforce each other. Our implicit biases tend to favour our in-group, the people like us. Although some research has shown that we can also hold implicit biases against our in-group. And implicit biases tend to emerge much more strongly in times of stress, quick decision-making, and tiredness. But we can change them with work, effort, and time. Perhaps the best way to think about implicit bias is that these are our attitudinal and behavioural blind spots that are so deeply ingrained in how we operate in the world that we actually don't know that they're influencing our attitudes and behaviour. The most commonly thought of implicit bias is implicit racial bias, which is pervasive. But more generally, implicit bias can shape the way we think about lots of different qualities: age, gender, nationality, race, religion, ability, weight, height. So it influences pretty much every part of life, with the most obvious ones like the criminal justice system, but even in the way we respond to conflict, to love and romance, how people access medical and other systems, pretty much everything. And 3 decades of research in neurology and psychology has shown that implicit bias influences the way we see and treat others, even when we are trying our very best to be, and actually believe we are being, fair and objective. So if you've picked up on cultural cues that women are caring and gentle, it means you might have a difficult time connecting women to powerful roles in business or politics, despite your conscious belief in gender equality. Similarly, if you have a stereotype about Aboriginal people that labels them as representing a traditional, ancient race that's strongly connected to the Australian landscape, then implicit bias might mean that you find it difficult to see them in positions of power or knowledge outside of issues related to Aboriginality, despite having a conscious belief that you're not racist. And on top of that, sometimes we absorb those biases in the way we see ourselves or our group, even if they have the potential to reinforce forms of oppression on us. All sorts of institutions, systems, and even language can support these biases. Think about how we frame the word disability, the absence of ability. It's also reinforced in media and marketing, sometimes in obvious ways, but at other times in ways that don't seem particularly problematic. Research that Laura McVie and I conducted into how women interpret advertising campaigns targeted at women and developed to increase empowerment through fitness actually found that these promotions were likely to reinforce factors like sexual subjectification and self-surveillance. In other words, instead of increasing physical empowerment, campaigns showing women engaging in sport subtly reinforced stereotypes of women participating in sport in the context of how men would view them through their sexuality. And before you say it, women were also involved in the design of the campaign. So these implicit biases are pervasive to the point where those victims of the bias may actually reinforce it. It's complicated. That said, the effects of implicit bias aren't always negative.